Hey guys, welcome back. It's Dave at No Recipe Required. Hope you're doing well. Today I want to show you how to do a demi-glace. Really just a fancy term for a reduced beef stock. Let's go ahead. We're going to do it from scratch and roast off the bones. Okay guys, so our demi-glace is going to start off with bones. I've got beef bones here. Really two or three kinds. One is what I'd call soup bones or stock bones. These are really femurs, beef femurs that I bought at the store. You may have to ask the butcher counter, you may even have to order these, but well worth it. Make a huge batch of stock or demi-glace at once. Very good to go ahead and use these. I've also got some beef short ribs that I bought. These also have bones. You know, this is mostly bone with just some of the beef kind of still attached to it. That's going to add, the extra beef there will add some extra rich flavor and beefiness to the sauce. I think it's important to have some of those in there as well. I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to take these and just put them into a room temperature cast iron pan, something that you can stick in the oven. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this whole thing into a 450 or 425 degree oven for probably 45 minutes to an hour. Ideally, you don't really want the bones overlapping, but if they do a little bit, that'll be okay. What you're looking for, aside from the timing, is to get a nice dark brown color on the bones and on the meat as well, and get some of that crusty sear bits of fond on the bottom of the pan. You really just can stick it in there, walk away for at least half an hour, come back and give it a check. We'll come back when it's ready, when it's time to take a look. Okay guys, so I just took the roasted bones and the full pot out of the oven after they get that good dark caramelized color on them. I'm gonna set those aside, and then I've got all these brown bits in the pan. I've also got a lot of grease in there. I'm gonna go ahead and remove most of that grease. It's perfectly fine having some in there, but you don't necessarily need it all. Once we come back, I'm gonna add some caramelized carrot, onion, and celery that I've cooked off in another dish, and we'll deglaze the pan. Okay guys, so I removed most of the fat, but I left some of it in there. And before we deglaze with some red wine, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour in there to combine with the fat and create a little bit of a roux. I'm not looking for a ton, but I do want just enough in there to kind of make the sauce a little bit thicker. I'm also going to let that go for at least 4 or 5 minutes and get a little bit of color on it. Just stirring every once in a while. Cooks the flour out, and then also will lend a bit of additional flavor to the sauce. We'll come back once we're ready to add the wine. Okay guys, I've got some carrots, onions, and celery, which I'm going to add to the pan. I've already caramelized those off, and then I'm also going to deglaze it with a couple nice slugs of red wine. And I'm going to let that red wine reduce down to about half. Then we're going to add back. You want to scrape down the pan and make sure you get all those yummy bits off the bottom. I'm going to let that wine reduce down, and then we'll add back our bones and cover it with water to let it simmer. We'll come back in a few minutes. Alright, my wine's reduced down, so I'm just going to add back my stock bones. And then I'm going to cover everything with cold water. And you're looking to get up right about to the top of the bones. It's okay if it covers it just a little bit. I'll go back and I'll add just a little bit more water. That's probably maybe just a little bit more. You don't want too much, or you're going to get a diluted stock. So I like to go just about up to the level of the bones. I'm going to add a couple bay leaves. 1, 2, and then I'm going to add about a tablespoon of herb de Provence, which is just an herb blend. We're going to stir this through, and really just let it simmer. You don't want it to boil hard. Bring it up to a boil and then turn the heat down so it just kind of bubbles away there a little bit. And then we're going to let it go for probably 4 hours. Okay guys, so for our demi-glace, I've been simmering this for probably 5 hours now. You can see it's reduced down quite a bit, probably by at least a third or so. The marrow bones have released kind of all the marrow in there, and I've gotten all that deep dark flavor out of the stock. I'm going to go ahead and remove the big pieces of bone in here. I've just got a colander, or you can throw it in a bowl. And once I get these big pieces out, I'm going to go ahead and strain the liquid out through here, and I'm just going to put it into an aluminum pan like this. We'll come right back. Okay guys, so I've just strained out the brown sauce into an aluminum bowl here. You could do a couple things now. One, you could just put this in the fridge, and then the fat will float to the top overnight or as it cools, and then you'd just be able to scrape it off. You can also, and perfectly fine to use that way. You can also, just to kind of save space and effort and time in the long run, you can go ahead and take this, put it back into a pan, reduce it down further, and it'll just further concentrate the flavor, and you have less amount of stock, obviously, but you use less as you cook with it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in another pan, put it over the flame, put it on a low simmer, and let it reduce for another hour or two until it cuts down by a third, and we'll do the same thing. Just put it in a pan overnight. Hey, so as the sauce continues to reduce, you're going to find that the top, you start getting this kind of scummy film type stuff on top. I don't even know what to call it. But essentially, every half an hour or so, come over and you just take a spoon, remove it, throw it into a bowl and discard it. That will help keep the demi-glace more clear, and at the end of the day, you'll have a nicer, finer sauce if you just skim that off every so often. Okay guys, so I've reduced the cleared liquid, or the strained liquid, probably by a fifth to a quarter as well. And really what I'm looking for is almost a syrup consistency. This looks actually a little bit more like oil in terms of consistency, or syrup instead of water. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to take it off the heat, and like I did before, I'm going to drop it into an aluminum bowl. Any type of bowl you can put in the fridge is fine. I'm going to let that sit until it comes up to room temperature, and then I'm going to pop it in the oven. I'll cover it with foil. I'm going to pop it in the refrigerator overnight, and then in the morning we'll remove the fat layer, and then we'll essentially have our demi-glace. So I've let my demi-glace cool down. I've put it in the fridge overnight. And what's going to happen, it's going to get, the fat will rise to the surface, which is what this kind of layer of orange is on top. And really, this is the easiest way to defat the sauce. Just take that, kind of, you go around, you scrape the entire layer off. You try not to get any of that brown sauce underneath. And you just really toss the fat away. And it'll come off in these pretty big chunks, and just continue to do that. Once you get it done, you're gonna find that the sauce actually turns into this kind of jelly-like consistency. Totally normal. Once it heats up, it'll thin out and turn right back into a liquid. You can use this right away, or what I'll frequently do is heat it up until it's liquid again, pour it out into ice cube trays, let it freeze, pop them out of the trays, then you can wrap them individually and have nice little individual pieces of stock that you can add to sauces and things like that. Okay guys, so final step in our demi-glace. I've got it back to room temperature. It's become a liquid again. And then I've got an empty ice cube tray here. I'm just going to go ahead and fill the ice cube tray with the sauce, and then I'll stick it in the oven, or sorry, stick it in the freezer overnight. Let them freeze, and then once they're done, you know, I just pop them, take the cube out, wrap each individual one in plastic wrap, put it back in the freezer, and I've got those little cubes together whenever I want them. So guys, just to show you the final product, I've got the demi-glace that I've taken out of the freezer. I just put it in the ice cube tray, let it freeze overnight or however long it takes. Then I've got a piece of saran wrap that I've just laid out on the counter. I crack these open, and sometimes it takes a little bit of squeezing. You know, essentially just dump out those individual cubes, and then I just wrap them individually. Instead of doing an individual piece of plastic for each one, I just kind of roll and wrap as I go. This will keep them separate so they won't stick together. And then you can put them in a Ziploc bag and take them out as you need them and use them one at a time. I'll just do another couple wraps for the rest of the cubes, and we're good to go. There's your frozen demi-glace cubes. I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required.